Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, and Goodnight Moon from Twitter actually shared with me something called the Dragon Ball Z tag. And basically, in this Dragon Ball Z tag, you basically answered 21 quick questions ranging from anything in Dragon Ball, from Dragon Ball all the way up to Dragon Ball GT, and any video game, any fan thing out there. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on all these questions, and at the very end, I'm going to tag 3 people who I also want to continue this tag. And if you guys are interested in actually looking at these questions, please look at it in the description, because I'm actually looking forward to you guys copy and pasting all of these tags and putting them in the comment section if you're not going to make a video, because I want to hear your thoughts. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. So the first question is, who is your favorite character and why? Well, you guys would probably already mostly know this already. Piccolo's my favorite character of the series, and originally Future Trunks was my favorite character, because I liked him with the sword, and then it switched over to Gohan because of mostly Teen Gohan, and I just thought he was a really awesome character at the time. But then as I got older, I realized Gohan had a lot of faults, and I realized Piccolo had significantly better character development when I look at what he went through from Dragon Ball all the way up to Dragon Ball Z, and I just personally thought he was a better character as I got older, so that's why Piccolo's my favorite. The next question is, who is your favorite villain and why? Well, I guess technically Piccolo was a villain, but I'm going to have to go with Cell here, because Cell basically introduced the whole concept of time travel along with Trunks. Cell was basically a weak villain at first, at least compared to the stronger Z fighters, and then he basically became a serious major threat later. And he used a lot of his brains to outsmart and, trick his opponents. I also like the whole concept of him, how he's like this android that was created to have all the moves of the best fighters out there. So, with all that said, in addition to Cell's personality, I'm just going to have to say Cell hands down. What is your favorite quote or statement from the entire series? Well, I don't remember the exact quote, but it would have to be when Vegeta is speaking to Babidi, and he's basically telling him the only thing you can't break into Saiyan is his pride. And I felt that that was such an awesome moment, because when you think about it, I mean, here is a guy who's basically being mind controlled by Babidi. You saw the M on his forehead, and he is so mentally strong that he can overrule Babidi's mind control because of how strong his will is, and that was just a very powerful moment. Who is your favorite female character, assuming one isn't already your favorite, and if so, put her second? My favorite female character would be, I'm gonna have to go with Android 18. She's powerful, and I'm not going with looks. In that case, it would be Marin, Krillin's girlfriend, but I think Android 18 would obviously have to be my choice, because she's powerful. I like her personality, and I feel that she has an interesting twist, how she's so humanistic, but also at the same time she's an android slash cyborg, and I thought that was a very interesting thing about her, her backstory and everything along the lines. I'm gonna have to go with Android 18. What is your favorite fight, including everything? I'm gonna have to go with Goku versus Piccolo in Dragon Ball, and when I'm talking Piccolo, I'm talking about Piccolo Jr. The reason why is I feel like that was the first fight to really take like hardcore Dragon Ball action to the next level, and we obviously saw that a lot in Dragon Ball Z, but I feel like that was such a big fight on a different scale, and I feel like that truly changed the whole scheme of Dragon Ball fights in the series. So I'm gonna have to go with Goku versus Piccolo Jr. What is your favorite episode of Dragon Ball? Honestly, I've never really thought about this before, but off the top of my head, I guess it would probably have to be when Goku kills King Piccolo. I mean, that was a very, very awesome moment, and it set up a lot of the events of the series, because if you think about it, King Piccolo, in my opinion, was like the first really, really, really bad villain in Dragon Ball, and seeing Goku defeat him, and seeing where Goku came from to defeat, a villain of that mass, that was just an amazing moment. And to see how he did it, I mean, he literally punched like an entire hole through his stomach, and when King Piccolo spit out that egg, it set up a lot of foreshadowing for the future. So that really was a very tense and awesome moment, in my opinion. What is your favorite Dragon Ball song? My favorite Dragon Ball song of anything would have to be Solid State Scouter. What is your favorite movie or special? Favorite movie or special? Well, my favorite movie, I'm probably gonna have to go, now I think about it, with Battle of Gods, because I mean, Battle of Gods did, it had a decent job using the characters, besides just Goku. Obviously Goku was the main one, but the other characters were at least somewhat involved in it. I feel that it had a good little mix between action and character development in it. It introduced new characters. And I'm going to say the Battle of Gods was just a good all-around movie, and it ended differently from all the other movies, where in all the Dragon Ball movies, they find a way to defeat the villain in the last 5 minutes. Battle of Gods didn't end like that. Goku actually lost, and I felt that that was a very interesting twist that it put on it. So I'm going to go with Battle of Gods, honorable mention to Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan. And as far as my favorite special, I'm going to go with the History of Trunks. Honorable mention to the original plan to eradicate the Saiyans, the hour-long one, not the one that was remade in 2011. The original plan to eradicate the Saiyans is definitely my favorite special, and it was based off of the OVA for the Dragon Ball Z video game, Dragon Ball Z Gaiden. The next question is, what is your favorite race in Dragon Ball? My favorite race, I'm going to have to go with the Tuffles. Ironically, I just answered a question about the Dragon Ball Z Gaiden video game based off of, which based the movie, a plan to eradicate the Saiyans, talking about the Tuffles. And I think that the Tuffles are interesting because, it's showing you how much hatred they had towards the Saiyans, obviously because of the fact that they eliminated their race. And when you look at the fact that now the Tuffles, or in the case of Baby and Dr. Raichi, are trying to get revenge on like the good Saiyans now, when Gohan, Trunks, Vegeta, wasn't really a bad guy at this point, it kind of was like putting a good twist. It's like now the Tuffles are looking like the bad guys because they're trying to get their revenge on the good Saiyans, and that's really why I would say the Tuffles are my favorite race. What is your favorite Dragon Ball video game? I'm gonna have to go with Dragon Ball Xenoverse. The reason being, I just thought Xenoverse was an awesome game. It included so many things, a brand new, refreshing plot. It didn't rehash the story as the other games did. If you also look at the fact that, you could create your own character, even though the character created system could be improved. And if you also look at, they chose a great array of characters that you can play with, and I just think that it's just a very, very, very fun game. I like the parallel quest, I like the story mode, I like everything about Xenoverse. And it's a cliche answer, but it's really the best. Honorable mention to Dragon Ball Z Budokai 1. If you were in the Dragon Ball world, who would you train with and why? I would train with Goku, and I know you're probably thinking it'd probably pick Piccolo, but the reason I'm saying Goku is because, in my opinion, I think Goku is a character that is very knowledgeable about fighting. Not only that, he has some really interesting techniques, and I don't think Goku would have to completely eliminate and destroy my body to train me. I think Piccolo and Vegeta, or even somebody like Tien, would probably push me too hard, but Goku seems like he could ease up on me and not completely destroy my body while still training me, in a good, proper way. So I'm going to have to go with Goku. Plus, I want to learn instant transmission. What is the saddest Dragon Ball moment to you? The saddest Dragon Ball moment to me would probably have to be when Future Gohan dies in the History of Trunks. I mean, that was just a really, really, really sad moment. Just watching him on the ground dead, and it was much better in the anime than it was in the manga. I guess my second favorite, if I had to squeeze one in, would probably have to be when Goku, died, trying to stop Cell. I mean, that was also a pretty sad moment too, that he died anyways because of his son's actions. What is the most shocking moment to you in Dragon Ball? It would definitely have to be when Future Trunks arrived, became a Super Saiyan, and killed Frieza and King Cold. And the reason why I'm saying this is because here's this random kid from the future who just turned Super Saiyan and literally kills, the previous villain, and, he does it so effortlessly. That was a really, really shocking moment. Then when he talked about the future and all that stuff, Goku dying of a heart virus, I thought that was an extremely shocking moment. What is the funniest Dragon Ball moment, and who's the funniest Dragon Ball character? Funniest moment of Dragon Ball. I should actually do a video on that. I guess my funniest moment of Dragon Ball would probably have to be when Krillin had an idea for Yamcha to defeat the Invisible Man, and literally he brought over Bulma just so he could pull he pulled her bra down so that Yamcha would see her breast, and then Hiroshi spit so much blood on the Invisible Man that Yamcha was able to see him and beat him up. I don't think anything competes with that moment. That moment was just hilarious. And I've seen so many funny moments in Dragon Ball, but that was just creatively funny. Great job, Toriyama. And, you know, just to put a twist on it, the funniest character, in my opinion, is no doubt Master Roshi. What is the most memorable moment to you watching Dragon Ball? It would have to be when Gohan killed the Cell Juniors. I mean, watching Gohan kill those Cell Juniors, I mean, that was just epic, man. I haven't seen too many moments of badassery. Yes, I used the word badassery, where a character just dominated like that. I mean, that was just cool. I mean, and that's one of the reasons I became such a fan of Gohan, watching him, like, just tear up those Cell Juniors. So I'm gonna have to go with the Cell Juniors. I mean, that was the peak of Dragon Ball, in my opinion, honestly. How do you prefer to watch Dragon Ball? The original, the Funimation, with Funimation, Kai, or other? Well, interesting question. Well, here's the thing. If we're talking about the original version, I don't have a problem with the Japanese version. I think it's clearly the original version because it's closest to the dub. I'm sorry, it's the original dub. You know, it's what, you know, the show was originally supposed to say, so it's good for that. But I personally just don't like reading subtitles over and over and over and over again. That's just my preference. And I do prefer some of the English voice actors, but obviously I'm American, so of course I'm gonna think that. In terms of the Funimation dub, I do think the Funimation dub probably has some weak voice acting compared to, obviously, you know, Dragon Ball Kai. But at the same time, I like some of the filler elements, and I don't like that Kai took it away. I mean, the filler is what made the anime experience very different from reading the manga, and I actually read the manga first, so I kind of look at it as, if I want the original story, I'll read the manga. If I want the anime, I'll watch the anime, and if I want it in the language, I want it in English, because I don't like reading subtitles constantly. And with Dragon Ball Kai, I think it has vastly superior voice acting than Funimation for the most part, not in all areas, but I think Kai had a better voice acting and it was closer to the original dub, but at the same time, I just don't like that it cut out a lot of the filler because that's what made me enjoy the original series so much. So I don't like that it's a cut down version of it. So with that said, I'm going to have to go with the original Funimation dub. But they're all good in their own way, in my opinion. What is something you have of Dragon Ball that most fans don't have? Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is I have some Beckett Collector Beckett Collector magazine editions that I'm sure most people might not know about, especially if you're a younger fan. If you're an older fan, you would know what the Beckett Collectors, they were like the unofficial Dragon Ball, you know, magazines that used to come out like a long time ago when I was a little kid. And I think that, you know, those things are really rare now. Besides that, I guess the other thing I would say is that I have basically the entire manga collection. I'm sure there are a lot of fans who might have that, but I have all the manga volumes from the first issue of Dragon Ball all the way until the end of Z, in addition to the Jaco the Galactic Patrolman special. So all of that, I guess, is it. I mean, it's not the most impressive thing in the world, but it's what I got. Which fake transformation, fusion, or character do you like the most? Never thought about fake transformation, fusion, or character do you like the most? Well, you can't call them fake because they're in a video game, so they're not fake. When I think of fake, I think of like, well, actually no, because video games do put in fusions, right? So when I think of, if I just were to think of like anything, man, I'm gonna probably have to go with Gohan fusing with Goku. I thought that would have been an interesting idea, even though it'd be kind of weird to fuse with your dad. I also like that little fake thing that Goku had if he fused with Hercule. That was also really interesting, and I would have liked to have seen that happen just for comical purposes. So yeah, I guess that would probably have to be it. Gokuel is probably my favorite fake transformation, I guess, out there, because he never really was an official character. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with that. And if I just thought of a character from a video game universe, I'm probably gonna have to go with Demigra from Dragon Ball Xenoverse, even though he's technically not fake. Honorable mention to Gas Korloth from the Dragon Ball Multiverse series. Alright, what is the number one thing you love about Dragon Ball? It would probably have to be the world of Dragon Ball. The reason I'm saying is when you think about how rich it is. I mean, some shows are so tightly knit to the characters. Dragon Ball is so expansive, which what makes it a great show, because I mean, you could talk about the things that happened in the past with the Saiyans and the Tuffles. You could talk about things that happen in the future with, time travel. You can talk about, so many different things. You can learn about Master Roshi's backstory. I mean, the expansiveness with all these alien races, with all of these characters, with all of these androids, with all these machines. When you think of all the villains, everything from Dragon Ball, I think the world and the creativity and the expansiveness of how open it is, it allows the show to just keep pumping out new content. I mean, Yu Yu Hakusho can't do that, It can't just pump out as much new content as Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball just keeps expanding because there's so many things to expand on. And that's what I think makes Dragon Ball awesome. It wouldn't be the show it is, in my opinion, if it wasn't for that. Even more so than the fighting. And then if I were to move on to the next question, it is, what is the number one thing you hate the most about Dragon Ball? I'm probably going to have to go, well, if I'm going with with Dragon Ball as a whole, it'd probably have to be two things. I mean, it'd be the fact that a lot of the Dragon Ball Z video games just repeat the same story over and over again, and that's not really their fault, but it just gets boring at some point, which is one of the reasons I love Xenoverse. And the other thing would have to be Dragon Ball Z, especially the Funimation dub, did have a tendency to just stall moments like Goku fighting Frieza, where they talk and talk and talk, and they fight for like 2 or 3 minutes and talk, and then you gotta wait for the next episode. It has had a history of doing that, and that's why I think Kai did a better job, because they cut down a lot of the negative filler, even though I still liked some of those filler elements. So I'm going to have to say that's probably the thing I dislike the most about Dragon Ball. And last but definitely not least, where does Dragon Ball rank in your all-time favorite anime series? Interesting question. Where does it rank? I'm going to have to say that Dragon Ball is definitely number one. I mean, I love Yu Yu Hakusho. I think Yu Yu Hakusho even has a better story in some elements, but I just have something about Dragon Ball that just can't be replicated. Just something with the characters, the fighting, the attacks, the transformations, even though there are a lot of transformations. It's just an amazing show, and, so many people like Dragon Ball who are a lot older than me, who are a lot younger than me, and who are in my age range, that I just think that's what makes the show so awesome and so expansive. So that's basically it. Dragon Ball is my number one favorite anime series of all time. So with that said, guys, I hope you liked this video. I'm going to tag Rhyme Style Geekdom and Dragon Ball Nation. I'll say this again, Rhyme Style Geekdom and Dragon Ball Nation. I'll make sure I, contact them so that they know this, so that they also do this. And also in the comment section, guys, I'm really interested in seeing you guys copy and pasting this and just putting your answers right below each question, obviously to show me your answers if you're not going to make a video, because I'm curious to hear your thoughts too in the comment section below. And if you saw this entire video from start to finish, put hashtag Dragon Ball Forever if you saw this entire video, because that's the exact way I feel. This Dragon Ball Z tag was necessary. I loved doing that, and I appreciate Goodnight Moon for actually sharing this with me. So with everything else, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys.